everybody. Welcome back. Oh, my friends. You know my first guest from Knocked Up, Neighbors, and The Fabelmans. He's now a co-creator, director, and star in The Studio.
Patty, I gotta talk to you about the motel sequence in Ron Howard's movie.
Oh, beautiful. Moving. Sublime.
Yeah, way too long, though, right?
Oh, I almost drilled a hole into my brain to kill the part of me that senses time. What? When was it ever gonna end?
Yeah, why did you tell him you liked it so much?
I'm on my own now, Maddie. I have to suck up to talent like every other schmuck producer in town. My God, this job is a daily kick in the ovaries.
Yeah, look, I gotta tell him that I want him to cut it from the movie.
Don't you even try. Oh, it's so personal.
Yeah, I heard you say that. What's so personal? He didn't tell me that it was personal.
It's so personal, he doesn't even want to talk about it.
Well, what does it mean? What is it?
The kid at the motel, who represents a cousin Ron had who died when they were both young.
No, really?
No, that whole sequence is about Ron letting go of the cousin's death and moving on.
God, that's like worst case scenario.
No, a sibling would be worse. Hey, I got a script about an Australian chess team that cheats. Will you read it tonight?
You talked to Ron about cutting the sequence from the movie?
Oh, you're kidding? No, I'm not working on this movie. That's a problem for you to solve, boss.
Please welcome back to The Late Show, Seth Rogen.
Everything she owns, I bought her. Everything she owns.
That's nice.
Very pleasant.
Lovely. Thank you.
Very pleasant. Nice to have you on again. Always lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks
That
for
was
helping us move some puppies over.
No, hey,
there.
I'll move puppies all day.
Congratulations on the new show. I can't wait to watch The Studio.
Thank you so much.
Okay, it's the talk of old Hollywood town. For the people who don't know, explain what it's about and who you play, and maybe why everybody out there is trying to guess who's who.
Yeah, I play a guy named Matt Remick, and in the show I run a Hollywood movie studio that exists in today's version of
Like
Hollywood.
Paramount
There's
or
Paramount,
Warner
there's the
or
first one,
something
there's
like
one
that.
other studio called Continental Studios. And in the show, like the major conflict is one I'm sure you're familiar with, is that of like art versus commerce. And my character loves movies and is a huge movie fan, but as the head of a studio, often has to make choices that makes movies worse. And he loves directors and he loves movie stars, but he's constantly having to disappoint them by giving them notes they don't want to hear, or by, just in general ruining their passion.
He wants to make movies, but he has to run a business.
Yes, he doesn't want to get fired, and that conflict, I think, is at the heart of show business.
So he's the head of the studio, but he's not the boss.
There's a CEO, and that's how these companies work. Is like they answer to a board. Often, Bryan Cranston plays my boss on the show.
Okay.
Who's like the CEO of the parent company, who is pressuring me in the pilot. I have to make a movie based on the Kool-Aid Man, and that.
So like that's the intellectual property
That is the IP our studio has, is Kool-Aid, and because I love film, I decide I want to make the fancy Kool-Aid movie, like the Oscar-winning, auteur-driven Kool-Aid film.
Sure.
Yes, and so I try to hire Martin Scorsese to direct the Kool-Aid movie.
Okay.
To hilariously disastrous results.
Early in the series, as you sort of hinted at it just now, your character says, I got into this because I love movies, but now I have this fear that my job is to ruin them.
Yes.
Is it true that you once had a Hollywood executive say that to you?
Very much so, yeah. Me and my partner, Evan, were in a meeting early in our careers, and we were rewriting a movie, and the executive said exactly that. He was giving us notes. We wanted to make it very R-rated and edgy, and he was telling us we couldn't. And even though he thought it was funny, yeah, and in a moment, he hung his head and said exactly that. I got into this because I love movies, and now it's my job to ruin them.
Does this person still work in the movies?
Oh, he runs 20th Century Fox Studios. Literally. His name's Steve Asbell. Okay. Well, he's a lovely guy, and he's very conflicted about what he has to do.
To make this movie, and when you were creating the series,
yeah.
I understand you did research with some formal and not so formal interviews with people who have this job, or producers or studio people.
Yes.
In Hollywood. Has anyone watching the series called you up to say, I know that's me?
Yes, I've been yelled at 3 times in the last week by...
So they're not pleased with the...
Some of them are pleased, some of them are not pleased, I will say.
Yes.
Yes, there's an episode in particular about the Golden Globes, and the whole thing is my character just wants desperately to be thanked in a Golden Globe speech, which is very important to Hollywood executives. And it's years ago we made a film that won a Golden Globe, and at the after party we saw one of the executives crying, and we assumed they were crying because we won and they were happy. And we went over and we're like, we won, is that why you're crying? And they said, no, they forgot to thank me during the speech. And then we made a whole episode about that, and the person who it's based on knows that we made a whole episode about it, and they, in no uncertain terms, yelled at me very recently.
Okay, just as importantly, are there people who think they're being depicted who are not?
Yes, also people have projected themselves onto these characters in a way that is not accurate, and conversely, I had a call from a studio executive who said, it was so real and it was so truthful to my story, I couldn't stop crying when I was watching it, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, but I was like, it's not based on you at all, man.
We have to take a quick break. Right back with more Seth Rogen, everybody. Stick around.